The observatory dome he swore was out of service. The calendar square arrived at 6:11 p.m., neat as a star chart. Friends of Astral Sciences Gala, Ridgeview Observatory, late. 2 minutes later, Miles texted, "Don't wait up." Tech crew asked me to peek at a balky drive on the South Dome after speeches. Proud of me. Read he spends the heart when the rest of the sentence wants diplomatic immunity. I turned the stew low, the kind of simmer that calls itself maturity, and looked uphill at the observatory. At dusk the domes sit like patient helmets against a violet sky, the old stone trying to remember what cold once meant. The square on my phone pulsed once and then behaved. I rinsed an already clean spoon because sometimes unnecessary is the only honest verb available. At 6:32 my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize and a message that recognized me anyway. If the gala's in the lecture hall, why did he just badge the South Dome? Courier door off Service Road. Reader hates witnesses, cover it, then pull. I can stall sweep 2 minutes. Signed with a single letter, Q, as if the alphabet had leaned against a pier and promised not to rotate. Quinn runs nights at Ridgeview with the calm of a man who convinces machines to respect the sky. He and Miles trade competence in a dialect of torque curves and donor moods. He and I have shared 2 cigarettes beside the cooling tower where the wind practices opinions. Once we laughed hard enough a security cam tilted like it wanted to learn timing. We have not touched. I remember not touching more clearly than most men remember vows. "Why tell me?" I wrote. "Because your calendar is polite and my badge logs aren't," he sent back. Because he looked up before he swiped. People only look up there when they want oxygen. Because out of service is keep out, the way champagne is hydration. The courier door sulked behind the dumpsters. I palmed the reader's little red eye. The lock reconsidered its philosophy and released. Inside, a corridor smelled like oil that had chosen patience. The concrete steps climbed to a hatch. The hatch opened to a catwalk, and the catwalk delivered me into a dim cathedral of gears and intent. The dome. Miles stood near the azimuth rail with his jacket off, and his shirt open one button past credible, tie folded into his pocket like a plausible denial. Opposite him, resting 2 fingers on the guardrail as if gravity billed him monthly, leaned Roman Cade, developer, board vice chair, a roomer with boutiques and nomming rights. Roman's hand hovered near Miles's wrist without landing, because proximity photographs better than contact when your brand buys starlight and invoices discretion. "Out of service looks busy," I said. Miles turned. For a beat truth used his face like glass before it reflects. Then the gala version arrived, posture, smile, the careful rhythm he learned at tables where checks know their lines. "Archer," he said. How did?" "Quinn prefers nouns," I said. "I prefer doors." Roman gave me a practiced warmth, the kind that understands acoustics. "We were reviewing the drive," he said. "Donors enjoy touching the universe from the right side of a rope." "I prefer a universe that doesn't need a photographer," I said. Miles took 1 step toward me and let the steel keep the second. "We were listening for a grind," he said. He wanted to hear the motor without speeches. "Sound is persuasive," Roman said. He opened both hands like tasteful parentheses. 2 minutes. The sweep is punctual, my car is impatient. He drifted toward the pier where the telescope's white barrel rested like a tame leviathan. As he passed, 2 fingers tapped Miles's shoulder, punctuation, not possession. The dome shutters dozed with their seam drawn tight. A red work light carved silhouettes like alibis. Miles watched me the way men watch weather when they hope lightning has a better plan. "I was going to text you," he said, lower now, using the register he keeps for mornings and the soft under my jaw. "After. I wanted to know I could leave this room without letting it declare a name for me. You wanted to be caught, I said. Not punished, caught. He exhaled. The rail took the weight like it owed him one kindness. Yes. There is a height at which grammar resigns. I crossed the grate and put my mouth on his because steel deserves honesty and stars do not care. He kissed back with the relief of a man who has been paying interest on restraint, compounded nightly by applause. He tasted like Gala bourbon and air chilled by altitude, a faint bite of machine. My thumb found the hinge of his jaw and pressed. He made the small, involuntary sound I keep receipts for. His palm slid under my shirt and settled flat between my shoulder blades like a promise that refuses notarization. We didn't undress. The dome charges extra and cameras learn quickly. He broke the kiss first because he knows the exact second heat applies for narrative. He set his forehead to mine. Somewhere the raw motor gave a polite click, as if astronomy had developed manners. I didn't kiss him, he said. I wanted to want to, I texted Quinn. You did, I said. He prefers oxygen to salvage. From the pier, Roman tilted his head with the tidy curiosity of a man who assumes the sky will arrange itself for him. He didn't come closer. The red light approved nothing. Come home, Miles said. After I thank the person who hears bearings, I said. Quinn waited by the hatch with a lanyard looped over 2 fingers and a steadiness that persuades heavy things to behave. He didn't smile. He also didn't make mercy expensive. Sweep hits the dome in 90, he said. If you don't want to explain yourselves to a flashlight that knows your shoes, take the raw catwalk to the ladder, drop to instrument storage, and exit by the north lot. The lot cam believes every tripod is a tripod. You sent the message, I said. I opened a door, he said. You two remembered how to walk. The catwalk curved along black rails, a sentence that refused flourish. We climbed down into instrument storage where cases slept like obedient animals. The exit pushed us into air that had earned its chill. We took sidewalks over lobbies because lobbies write captions. At home, the stew forgave me for mistaking patience for character. We ate standing, like mammals who know where bowls live. He told me Roman had been sculpting a compliment into a proposition for weeks, and he had helped because selection feels like love when usefulness empties your pockets. I told him Quinn had texted because some people choose air over alibi. He didn't ask whether Quinn and I had ever been colossally stupid together. I didn't say how a red light turns Quinn's mouth into punctuation that finally understands itself. We didn't fight. There wasn't theater left to sell. Later, in bed, we left a sliver of cool like a reservation and then let it surrender because the night had already billed us for restraint. He kissed me with the steadiness I trust more than policy. I put my mouth where his jaw goes humble and told it a morning. It was heat without spectacle. The building minded its radiators. Above us, the domes practiced forgetting names, and we encouraged them. Morning behaved. Coffee made its case. The calendar square for tonight stayed blank, which in this town is the kink we can afford. Miles tied a tie over a throat I intend to retire with patience and kissed me like the door already knew our names. He left to explain continuity to a breakfast that confuses tradition with truth. At 9:18 a text arrived from a number saved as one letter. No dome cam saw anything but shutters. I looped a drive test for 20. Consider it training. Q I sent, you're very proud of your training. He replied, I'm proud of your exit. No punctuation correct. By noon, a society blog posted Roman smiling under a banner that said stars belong to everyone as if money had met humility. I scrolled past. It wasn't our room. At 1:31 Miles texted a photo of our kitchen plant basking in a sincere rectangle of sun. Room exists, he wrote. The week pretended to be a clear forecast. Roman sent a revised pledge with fewer adjectives and more commas. Miles read to the part where the commas started to behave like a harness and set it face down. He pressed his forehead to my temple for a quiet 7 count. The air resumed its job. 2 nights later, the observatory hosted Night with the Telescope, honest wristbands, real families, kids learning that darkness is a kindness you can offer the sky. We went together, because sometimes the correct grammar is plural. Quinn nodded once from the console like an usher who had already chosen a side. Roman shook Miles's hand while a photographer coached the Milky Way to perform. A reporter asked about legacy. Miles pointed to a volunteer kneeling beside a boy to show him how to breathe before looking and said, "Legacy is what keeps rooms gentle." And the reporter wrote it down like she'd earned a truth. On the walk home, we cut across the ridge where the city forgets itself for a few good minutes. Miles slid 2 fingers into my back pocket in the way that says not mine but here, and the knight did the decent thing and looked away. We burned the garlic bread and ate it anyway. At the bedroom door, he kissed me the way good sentences land, without ornament, unavoidable. I answered as if verbs were the last honest currency. It did not stay tidy. It never does here. An anonymous account posted a grainy still, 2 silhouettes beneath a shutter seam, one hand too near to be polite. The caption invented entanglement, the comments rented outrage and billed by the breath. I set my phone face down beside the plant and watched the plant win. Miles texted a different image. The instrument bay at noon, Quinn showing a teen volunteer how to balance a mount while a sensor graph confessed contentment. "Our version works for a living," he wrote. Sunday arrived with a wind that had read the sky. Quinn texted, "Domes are quiet. Want a stool where nobody sells you a seat?" We went. He poured us paper cups of coffee that tasted like competence and showed us which bearing lies first, why you never trust a door that apologizes, and the tiny change in pitch that means a gear is about to tell the truth. He didn't flirt with anything, not even the truth. He stood with his hands in his jacket pockets and told us a joke about rich men who think parallax is a metaphor. I liked him better for refusing to be necessary when he didn't need to be. Midweek, the foundation staged a press moment for a new student night. Miles spoke first, about bolts and volunteers and the joy of maintenance, the only speech that ages correctly. Roman promised to help the city meet its stars on time, a sentence that managed to spend nothing and still collect applause. After, he shook Miles's hand and then looked at me with the careful respect of a man evaluating whether he cannot purchase. "You're both very good at exits," he said. "Practice," I said. He laughed because it was the only honest thing left on his card. A columnist with an adjective habit implied Miles's access came courtesy of Private Tour. The piece included a photo of a dome that could have been any dome and a paragraph that could have been any rumor. The comments did their choreography. I carried the plant to the sink and let water talk to its roots like a promise we could keep. That night, we turned our phones face down and cooked like people who still believe heat tells the truth. On a wet Thursday, Quinn sent a single word, weather, and we met him by the windbreak where rain negotiated with stone. He showed us which drain floods first, where to stand when lightning auditions for God, and how to hear the faint hesitation that means a shutter will miss its cue without kindness. He didn't ask about the photo. We didn't say his name out loud. 3 people wide in the dark that protects secrets. We let the storm remove adjectives we didn't need. Life kept refusing to be purchased. Roman kept sending commas that wanted homes. Miles kept returning them with better ones. The plant kept inventing a shade of green that turns vanity domestic. We kept our calendar squares blank on purpose because blanks are the only promises rooms respect. Sometimes, after midnight, we walk the ridge and look up. From the road you can't see the rails or the quiet, careful posture of a man who teaches heavy things to be gentle. That's as it should be. We circle the lot and go home without letting the building perform at us. He takes my wrist like a man reteaching himself the grammar of doors. I think about the dome and the 2 minutes that were enough, about how some rooms try to own you and others teach you how to leave correctly. Sometimes I think about Roman paused by the white barrel like a man who wants to buy air and discovering it doesn't invoice. Sometimes I think about Quinn's line, "I opened a door," and how it's the only biography I want for this version of us. Tonight's square is empty. We're leaving it that way. Let the observatory keep its speeches and the city its applause. We have the courier door, a plant we refuse to let die, and the quiet grammar of a decision that knows where it belongs. Not in the rumor, not in the photo, but in the mouth that learned to say come home and mean it. If we get caught again, let it be by each other. The rest of the world can rehearse wonder. We'll be in the room that doesn't need it, counting breaths until they sound like a well-set gear, and a morning we can afford, and calling that enough.